Welcome to the Dynamics of Everyday Life, where we demystify some tricky concepts and get to know ourselves a little bit better. Welcome back to the Dynamics of Everyday Life. Last weekend has been a busy one for me. Along with all the usual kids' activities, I took my son to see Olly Murs at the O2. We are extremely lucky to live as close to the O2 as we do. It's just a 30-minute car journey, so I do appreciate that going to see concerts and shows there is much easier for us than a lot of other people. And it's a big night out. I mean, not least due to the cost of concert tickets, and especially for my son, who'd been looking forward to this for some time. I was also looking forward to it, and even more than I had been, as at the last minute I discovered that Blue were the support act, and to be honest, who doesn't love a bit of Blue? Normally, I can give the support act a miss, but for this one, I was making sure we scoffed our Pizza Express dinner as quickly as possible so that we didn't miss anything. It's not like me to turn down a chocolate cake dessert, but I was not going to be missing out on this. So we get into our seats. Pretty lucky with these, I think, as we got a resale and we were in the block at the front. Blue come on, do a few old classics. Everyone is warmed up for the main man. Olly, I say that as if we were close, comes on, and he does put on a really good show. And my son is living his best life at this moment. He's now 6'4", so he has a fantastic view, and I do feel a little bit sorry for the people behind him, but there isn't much that I can do about that. We've all been there. Anyway, Olly knows what we're all there for is to hear the crowd pleasers, and he does not disappoint. There's even an 80s section, clearly for the parents in the crowd, and he does a bit of a walk around. The crowd love it. Security team, not so much. And my point is, he puts on a great show. I'm not actually sponsored by him. I mean, that would be fabulous. I'm just setting the scene. The last number comes on, and it's one of his classics, Dance With Me Tonight. And by this point, I am well into the spirit of the evening. I am indeed dancing with him tonight. And as I cut some shapes in my tiny seated area, I turn round and I see that there's a multitude of people just watching him. There's no moving and grooving. There's the odd sway here and there. A few people are looking like they want to be dancing, but don't feel like they should. And a couple of women are out with their, what I assume to be partners, they're slightly moving. But they're looking like they can't or they shouldn't. And I do recognise that I'm building quite a lot of narratives here. Maybe someone has a back problem. I don't know. But the point is that whilst I'm flinging my arms in the air like I just don't care, spoiler, I don't care who sees me, I'm having fun, there's an awful lot of people who aren't. And it doesn't just happen at an Olly Murs gig either. He doesn't just bring out a slightly odd crowd who would like to dance but don't. Each December, one of my closest friends and I go to see Pete Tong at the O2. Ibiza Classics. I've never been to Ibiza, but I've been to a lot of clubs back in the day and I absolutely love the music. There was one time we were having so much fun dancing to Insomnia by Faithless that we were told if we didn't keep to our spots, we would be removed from the O2. Can you imagine it? Being barred at my age. And there were also people who were just watching. I'm not sure the man who was standing next to me appreciated getting my elbows in his face as I was larging it. But why go to a dance music night if you're just going to stand there? And this is the focus of my episode today. What is it that holds us back? Because I do think it's something that's holding us back. If you didn't enjoy it, you wouldn't be there, surely. That's not to say that parents enjoy everything they take their children to. Dan TDM, famous YouTube video game player, was a big hit in our household on Saturday mornings several years ago. I dutifully took my children at least twice to a Dan TDM show. I don't speak video game, so the whole thing completely passed over me. It was like some odd version of the Smash Hits Poll Winners Party, and I definitely needed some paracetamol afterwards for the headache it gave me. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you sign up to something that you want to do, but you don't engage in it fully, or you hold yourself back. What's going on here? And I think this ties into anxiety, something we all experience to one degree or another. One of the biggest reasons that we hold ourselves back from doing something is anxiety. A quick recap here, and also one for trivia fiends. Freud is one of the very first people to talk about anxiety, and certainly one of the first people, if not the first person, to talk about it in terms of the psychological impact it has on us. And he talks about it in 1909 when he's referring to it as a morbid state of mind. I think we've all been there. And Freud splits it down into 3 types of anxiety. Well, we are responding to different types of threat. So we've got realistic anxiety, that's anxiety about the external world. We've got neurotic anxiety, that's linked to loss of control. And moral anxiety, and this is where we fear disapproval. And I think this is what's going on here, where we don't put on our dancing shoes, even if we really want to. So what is moral anxiety? Moral anxiety is where we're frightened of something that we've done, that we are doing, or will do, and we're frightened that it's going to be seen as immoral or inappropriate. It's the feeling that we have that something inside of us might punish us for stepping out of line, even when it's actually totally acceptable to do so, maybe even expected. At a concert, people dance. Unless it's at an orchestral recital, and then maybe not. But when moral anxiety gets in the way, we worry that it might not be seemly or acceptable to dance, or that we might be judged for it. So we don't do it. To get technical, what is happening is that the ego, the part of our minds that deals with reality, fears the disapproval of the superego. So the superego, according to Freud, is where we've internalised a parental voice. We've introjected or taken into ourselves prohibitions and expectations of our primary caregivers and society. So if we're feeling moral anxiety, we're feeling that we might get told off by this internal figure, even if we actually aren't doing anything wrong. Now, this doesn't just play out in concerts. It can also show up when we don't speak up in meetings, we don't take up space, we don't say how we feel. The superego, according to Freud, is always watching. It's there to keep us in our place and to help us feel safe. Even if, when you think about it, what it's actually doing is it's holding us back. And this is where we start to retreat into the perceived safety of our favourite defence mechanisms. We might deny that we wanted to dance, or we might rationalise why we didn't, because we don't want to feel any moral anxiety. So, what would it mean for us to throw caution to the wind and dance anyway? Literally or metaphorically. I mean, obviously you don't want to get forcibly removed from the O2 for dancing where you shouldn't, but how would it feel to notice what's happening for you psychologically? See it for moral anxiety and decide whether it's appropriate or not and whether it gets to be in charge. Now, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute here that you don't check in with your decisions, but do consider who or what you might be holding yourself back for or from. And what are you missing out on by not dancing at an Olly Murs concert? My invitation for you this week is for you to consider where in your life you might not have been dancing where you really wanted to. What was going on for you in that moment? Who or what do you think you might have been appeasing? What internalised judgments have you been carrying? And, as always, give yourself some grace. It can be a bit uncomfortable to realise that you've been holding yourself back and missing out because of a fear of judgment. Looking at ourselves at this level can be challenging and unnerving as we develop our awareness, so I'd always encourage that you do this at your own speed. If you feel you need some extra help around this, then I've put together a PDF resource sheet, and you can find the link for this in the show notes. If you'd like to have a chat with me about psychodynamics or whether I'm the right coach, supervisor or mentor for you, then click on the link that's also in the show notes. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Dynamics of Everyday Life. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. As well as producing this podcast, The Dynamics of Everyday Life has lots more psychodynamic fun going on, and you can find out more at dynamicsofeveryday.life.